Matty Loves Podcast. Matty Loves Podcast.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us again on another episode of Matty Loves Podcast. I'm your host, Matt DeSimone, joined with me, always, Dr. Tom Lucas. We're back.
What is up?
We're back. Guys, sorry we've been away for a little bit. Business has kind of picked up. We've been getting into some new and different things down here, but we have found time to sit here and do what we love the most, and that is this podcast. So glad
Indeed.
you could make it again, Tom. Boy, have we had a busy month. Holy shit.
I don't even know how I'm standing. Well, actually, I'm not standing. I'm sitting, so that's bullshit. But anyway,
Right.
Here we are, and the topic of this
Yes.
tidy little podcast is the movie that had a couple really good weekends and is clearly going to have some influence on the genre upcoming, and that is Mr. Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool.
Yes. I'm kind of glad now that we have a couple weeks to kind of revisit this and think about the film. I've only seen it once. This isn't like Star Wars, It wasn't as much of an event, but still, the movie's A+ film. It definitely did everything I wanted it to do, and then some as far as the character of Deadpool and how he was portrayed. The story and everything, well, everything's got holes nowadays, it seems.
Well, also, too, there was an article that ran recently, I want to say on IO9, that discussed all the things that were cut from the script. Characters, fight scenes. There was going to be this long, drawn-out chase between Deadpool and Ajax, and they reduced it to him throwing his sword into the spoke of his motorcycle. Instead of doing like a full on sequence. And they figured that they saved like $5 million right there. So that was a major cut. The choice of X-Men that were used, Colossus and Teenage
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Yeah. I never get that right. There was, some other options that they had, but they couldn't afford.
Yeah.
They cut the budget of this dramatically, and it's making plenty of money.
It was a wise move to cut out what they did. And now that you're saying that they cut out a car chase scene, more than likely that's what it would have been. Yeah. Well, we already kind of technically got that at the beginning of the movie. However, I bet you that chase scene was him in the taxi cab chasing him. I bet you that's who it would have been.
Oh yeah,
in the
totally.
Car with the taxi driver.
Yeah, Crisp High Five.
Right.
Your tip.
Right. So yeah, we both went and saw the film. And walked away enjoying it. However, the one thing that I'm just having a hard time enjoying, and that is the audience response to this film. In particularly, not just the audience, but also various movie studios that have now seen what Deadpool can do and are more than likely going to be shoving down our throats films of similar nature with characters that aren't like Deadpool at all, and they're going to try to make them out to be Deadpool, like Harley Quinn. That's coming.
Yeah, like a Harley Quinn solo.
Oh, God.
Solo effort.
Please. Gag me with a spoon.
Right. The R rating, the success of an R-rated film, this is also a curious thing. It goes beyond even the superhero genre.
Absolutely.
PG-13 is like that what everybody wants you to shoot for when you're doing a film, a studio film. Movie theaters will only carry so many R-rated films. It limits the tickets that are sold. It limits the audience and things like that. And everybody wants to make money, so they want products that they can sell to more people than not.
Namely kids.
Yeah, namely kids.
Parents will buy them for them.
Right, and so here we have a superhero movie R rating, does well. There's the announcement that there's going to be an R-rated cut of Batman v Superman. Well, it's like
we haven't even seen it yet.
Right.
So we haven't even seen the film, and they say that there's already an R-rated cut.
Yeah.
If there's one superhero, okay. See, this is kind of the I'm kind of being I don't know what the word is, hypocritical here maybe. If there's one hero in DC that should be so far from an R rating in his film, it's Superman.
Well, yeah.
I mean, Superman should be, bordering PG.
Yeah.
Because he's just that type of character. Batman, on the other hand, Batman for sure could roll an R-rated movie into the theaters and do better than Deadpool, I think.
I think, well, yeah. If you were to survey people, I think Batman has way more fans and way more recognition, in terms of being a pop culture piece. Plus, the Batman characters, he, aside from the Joker and some of the other rogues gallery, most of the time he's dealing with a criminal syndicate of some kind.
Right.
And
they're probably saying four-letter words all the time, hanging out in strip clubs, doing drugs.
Yeah, murder, extortion.
R-rated type of shit.
Yes, yeah.
I totally agree with you. Now, is Suicide Squad, which we'll get to here in a little bit, is that R-rated? Do you know?
I don't think so.
It's going to be worth a look up, because if that film isn't R-rated, I'm going to be shocked. I mean, how would you? I mean, Suicide Squad.
Right.
The name alone. I mean, that's an R-rated. That's an R-rated name.
Yeah, it's like, Daddy, what's suicide?
Right. Exactly. What is a Suicide Squad?
Right. We have an interesting culture where murder and mayhem and things like that are considered more acceptable than things of a more sexual or biological, nature. We definitely have some interesting priorities here. When you find the rating, I'm betting it's PG-13.
Wow, the first article from Cinema Blend that's popping up in Google is why Suicide Squad won't go after an R rating.
So see, yeah.
So there you go, folks.
Yeah.
DC.
I bet we'll...
Hey, but we'll put out a Batman Superman R-rated DVD.
Yeah.
So obviously they're going to have an...
I'm telling you, it's going to be Batman showering.
And why is it going to be R-rated? Why not just say it's unrated? That's
right.
what would sell it, is unrated.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
well,
boy.
what from a parental point of view too is like, it's a Superman movie. Kid wants to go see Superman.
Yeah.
And it's Superman and Batman. So.
I'm not saying make that movie R-rated.
Oh yeah, no,
not at all. That
No.
movie shouldn't be R-rated. I mean, like Deadpool is just he's a. Yeah, I don't know what I'm looking to say here. He gets the pass because of the type of character he
Right.
is, and that's why it makes sense that it's an R-rated film because of how Deadpool is. Now, is Deadpool as cussy and as crass in the comic books? No, not really. And that's another thing that's kind of pissing me off about this whole thing is you got people who've never read a Deadpool comic in their life saying, the film was perfect. Deadpool was perfect. You know shit about Deadpool.
Yeah.
Don't come at me telling me, Deadpool was perfect when you've never read a Deadpool comic. I've read some Deadpool. Okay. That's what I've heard.
Right.
Well, I've read some of his stuff,
Deadpool has kind of a poser... He's a poser gateway.
He's like Marilyn Manson in
superhero.
1998.
Oh, God.
How many kids were rocking the Manson gear?
Right.
Or how many girls back in the day? I mean, for me, I knew so many girls that dressed, all gothy and everything just because they were attracted to that type of dude. They didn't listen to that shit.
No.
And so, like, it's like kind of the same thing. It's like, Deadpool's this edgy character, and all this other stuff, that is tied in with being edgy. And so, you have these kids that have like taken a likeness to the trailers, the movie trailers. that they've seen and how clever they've been with everything and whatnot.
The other thing too, and that was something else that I caught online, is that Deadpool is not the first R-rated superhero movie.
Well, no. I mean, you got Punisher.
Well, there's Punisher, and then there was a little movie, James Gunn, of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes. Tank Girl.
Tank Girl, and Super.
Super. Oh, yeah.
With
that's
Rainn
right,
Wilson.
That's right.
Shut up, crime.
That's right.
You know? And he.
wrench.
Yes. And he, like Deadpool, dressed in all red. And basically, he just bashed people in the skull with a wrench. Kevin Bacon is a glorious villain in that. And then Ellen Page plays a really dopey sidekick, you know, who has these sort of Wolverine-like claws. And the film is really very brutal. The violence is depicted very brutally and very honestly. Straight up R. You know, Rainn Wilson's character turns out to be quite insane and quite unbalanced.
Which,
you
at
know?
the end of the day, think about it. You know, a person doing what he does.
Yeah.
That's not in reality, man. You're gonna be institutionalized if you get caught. You know, general, like, you know, doesn't matter what your meaning is. You're just beating the dog shit out of people.
It's, you know, the genre, like, I guess any genre, you know, it goes through a lifespan. And I'm sure I've said it on the show before, is superhero movies in the, you know, over the last 10, 12 years, whatever, are like the Westerns in the 50s, you know? In the 50s, everything was a Western, you know?
Yeah.
All the movies were Westerns. A lot of the TV, you know, there were Westerns everywhere, you know, was a Western. And, you know, right now we're in this era where
everything's a superhero.
Everything is a superhero, so it's going to go in every direction. You know, Kick-Ass, when it first came out as a book, was kind of refreshing in its own way. The film was developed at the same time as the book came out, so they really divert in the third act, you know? The third act in the comic is...
Which is what killed the movie for me.
Yeah.
That it just went away from it so much, you know, to where... That was one of the first instances where I was like, wow, man, Hollywood really, like, you know... bent this flick over.
It betrayed it.
Yeah.
You know, it's if you've only seen the film, the ending, there's consequences to the character's choices that are not delivered in the film at all.
He gets the girl in the movie,
right?
And that's one of the best parts about the comic is
that she tells him to F right off.
Yep.
Right. You're a big fat liar.
Yep.
And he pays for that, you know, consequence. And you look at a film like Deadpool, and you can see the lineage. You can see the kick-ass that's in there. You can see...
and there's a little bit also, too, of, like, Deadpool's history in it. But, folks, this movie, for the most part, isn't like, yeah, we took a little bit of this old-school famous Deadpool storyline and did this. No, there's no famous Deadpool storyline, folks. Sorry.
Right.
There's not. You know, but I did, you know, I mean, it felt good, you know, and that was the one thing going away from it that I really wanted when I first sat down, is to go away from it, you know, just knowing that, man, yes, this felt like Deadpool, you know. I'm glad this is everything I wanted it to be.
It was well executed, and it was entertaining, you know, and that's why we went. We went to be entertained. Deadpool's not a character where you're ever going to address any serious thematics. You're not going to address the problems of the world.
No. And
you're not going to make social commentary. Deadpool exists really as a character to kind of mock the medium, you know, I guess.
This was definitely an irreverent poke at the comic book film industry as a whole, and what it's become, more or less. One thing, though, that I really wanted to ask you about, just because, you know, it was a character that we were really looking forward to seeing, and when we saw Colossus in the teasers, we were like, what the hell is he doing in this film?
Right.
So, Tom, I ask you, what the hell was he doing in this film?
Oh, my God. Talk about being on the same wavelength. I was just going to transition us over to talking about Colossus. So...
This was the only part leaving when you mentioned the thing about Colossus and how he was treated. I was like, oh yeah, they really kind of, like, you know, didn't make Colossus out to be badass that,
Yeah, first of all, Colossus is a straight up badass.
Yeah, and yes.
And there's an old role playing game, tabletop game called Champions, and the term for a character like the Thing, the Hulk, Colossus is known as the Brick. Okay, just basically nearly indestructible, super strong, and that's and then whatever they do with that. That's what they do, and that's Colossus. He's the super, he's the Brick of the X-Men, and he has very limited vulnerabilities. And as a kid, and I don't know if I shared it on the show, I certainly shared it with you. Wolverine wasn't my go-to X-Men. I always really liked Colossus for some reason, and why was Colossus and why was Negasonic? Why were any X-Men in this movie at all?
I had no problem with Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
She's kind of a pleasant surprise.
Yes. If there were, and out of the pleasant surprises in the film, because there were several.
The first time she busted out her power, it was really pretty cool.
I really feel bad for the guy that, pushes her into prom sex or whatever. That's one of the best lines in the movie when he's like, man, because you're thinking to yourself, oh, yeah, God. I don't even know if it would be a guy, though. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that they could have gone with maybe 2 or 3 other, C-listers from the X-Men. They have a whole batch of shitty X-Men currently right now in the comic books that are serving as students at the detention center that is Charles Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters.
Do you think that there's more characters that have been members of X-Men than Avengers? Because I know that, over the years, there have been, over 300 Avengers or something stupid like that.
I mean, you got to think Grant Morrison, for me, giving the answer, no, there have been more X-Men. Because when Grant Morrison took over, I mean, shit, man. He took, you had all the characters that had been established by your Claremonts, your Lobdels and all them in the 15 years prior to that. But then he opens up this whole new school with 30 brand new mutants.
Right.
All of them have interesting names and personalities and everything. So I gotta say that I think the X-Men overall have more members. But the thing is, it's kind of unfair is the fact that you have specific requirements to be an X-Man. You know, you got to be a mutant. If you're not a mutant, you can't be an X-Man, more or less.
Yeah.
Folks, that's why Deadpool isn't an X-Man, just to let you know. But anyway, so...
But in the movie, Colossus says, we'll make an X-Men out of you yet.
But that's stupid-ass Hollywood.
And because according to the origin story presented in the film, he was given a shock treatment, if you will, to stress his body to the point of creating a mutagenic response.
Yes.
Basically making him...
They just figured he was a mutant, so they drew it out of him.
Right.
Because that's what you can do. It's not what you can do.
Yeah. So, what was the original Deadpool origin in comparison to the film?
Oh, shit, man. Oh, God. The origin story of Deadpool when Deadpool first showed up.
Did he get a super soldier serum kind of thing?
Yeah, Deadpool was originally alluded to being a part of the old Weapon 10 program, Weapon X, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And originally... for me, I always didn't... I never thought he was a mutant. And even when he was a mercenary working for Strife and the Mutant Liberation Front, I don't think he was a mutant. I just think he had a high level of regenerative qualities, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to think back of the Joe Kelly stuff, and I don't even know if Joe Kelly ever did a Deadpool origin. There's not a definitive Dark Knight Returns or Year One, rather, for Deadpool.
Oh, okay.
Of course, we're going to get it here soon, I'm sure,
remembered one of the other budget cuts, And since you didn't see this article, prepare to have your mind blown.
It's probably going to involve like 8 million characters.
Taskmaster
Oh my God!
was going to be in the film. Taskmaster was going to be in the film. But he wasn't.
Well, obviously. I mean,
And a Deadpool Taskmaster fight? How awesome would that have been? Right? And maybe now, of course, we will be seeing Deadpool 2 and Deadpool 3 and Deadpool, the Pool Awakens and all that other, as long as Ryan Reynolds, is willing to do that. And then, of course, there's Hydra Bob. They couldn't really do Hydra Bob because of licensing.
Right, but he was there.
He was there, and we talked about it before. Deathstroke is my boy. Out of the whole DC pantheon of villains, there's something about Deathstroke that has always spoken to me. And I was, of course, a big fan of the whole Marv Wolfman and George Perez and Teen Titans and all that stuff. Taskmaster, to me, was always the Marvel version of Deathstroke until Deadpool came around. So,
Deadpool is a hybrid of both, if you really think about it.
Yeah, and so that would have been so meta to have Deadpool fight Taskmaster.
Yeah.
Is like Deadpool fighting Deathstroke, who's fighting himself. God damn.
Jesus.
So the snake eats its tail.
Wow.
Once again. And then also, too, I know you haven't read the Garth Ennis series, The Boys.
No,
which is basically is a merciless satire of comic book pantheons and mythologies and all that, and what they do with their version of the X-Men in those books is really something. I gotta tell you,
Might have to check out the first volume of that because you've mentioned that book a whole lot.
Yeah, I like
This
my deconstructionist stuff.
Yeah.
Having read superhero books my whole life along with other stuff, it's hard to not like to read things that are commenting on the medium, Sometimes I like a straight story.
Right.
But it seems hard to find anything current out of the big two that is a good, solid, straight story that makes me want to go pick up the trade.
Right.
Instead, I get intrigued by Jupiter's Circle or anything that Image does.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or whatever, Invincible. It's been a good long while since either the big two put something out there that I was like, you know what? This is a good, straightforward, not winking at you, not being a satire, not doing anything mean or whatever, just a good, straight superhero story. The last graphic novel that I bought that just was a good, solid read like that was Forever Evil.
And that's because you like the crime.
Yeah, I love the Crime Syndicate.
Yeah,
man, but
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. I love
from the big two.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. From the big two, there
Image. That's different.
No, yeah. From the big two, you run all down from the events just to the individual books. Even though right now, Hercules that's going on, written by Dan Abnett, is
solid stuff.
It's a good, like you were saying, like a good, straightforward story.
Yeah.
It's Hercules, man. He's lost his way in the world. He just he got known as being like this big drunk, and a partier and everything, and he's now been resorted to just leaving up like business cards you can tear off pieces of paper throughout New York City if you need help.
Oh yeah.
Gilgamesh is his roommate. Gilgamesh is even worse off than he is. And he's trying to tell Gilgamesh, you need to do something, man. You see me? I'm trying. You need to, too. So in the last issue, Gilgamesh, someone needs help, and Gilgamesh thinks back to what Herc's been saying. And he's like, all right. So he puts on Herc's old school costume, and he goes out, and that was like the end of the issue. So
I need to see this, I think.
Dude, Hercules it's good.
Yeah.
And he switches between talking like a mortal to talking like, in the Greek
Greek heroic fashion.
Yeah, change the fonts when he does it. It's pretty cool.
That I dig.
But let's get back to the films here.
Okay, yeah. So
All right, so we've talked about Deadpool.
Yeah.
We both enjoyed Deadpool.
what, but before we leave Deadpool completely,
Okay.
what do you think's going to be the sequel?
Well, Deadpool and Cable.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they'll call it Deadpool 2, DP2.
Yeah. Oh, God.
But I think they should just call it Deadpool and Cable.
Yeah.
And do that. But if they do Deadpool and Cable, you got to do Strife. And if you do Strife, that means extra work for whoever's playing Cable, because if you people don't know, spoilers, Strife is Cable.
Yeah.
From an alternate future.
From an alternate future?
Yes.
Earth.
Yes.
11348.
I'm looking forward to them seeing or having fun with the timeline.
Okay.
I think that they could and how they kind of irreverently poked at like the genre. In this film, they should poke more at like how they all films and stories constantly just butcher the time stream,
Right, yeah.
But because of the story, you just go with it. You don't think about like the repercussions of traveling back in time,
Yeah.
because there was this shitty movie that came out like years ago called The Sound of Thunder. And it was about time travel.
Right.
And they like go back to like the dinosaur era or something, and everything in the future gets screwed up as soon as they like get there and a guy steps on a bug and crushes it. And it like just totally just changes everything.
I think that I've gone past that on Netflix a few times, and it's bad.
Oh, it's garbage. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
terrible movie. It's a
Okay.
terrible movie. But anyway, yeah, so I think that they should definitely mess with the time sliding, in the time stream, and don't mess it around and not be like the first time Deadpool and Cable meet up. Like, this is established. We know who Cable is. Like, let's just get right to it.
Well, and I would say for any superhero movie from here on out, let's just not do origin stories anymore.
Yeah, unless
Let's
you have a
just not.
character that hasn't had a movie yet that we really want to see, like Doctor Strange. I want to see an origin story with Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Let's not jump right into Doctor Strange, because let's face it, man, come on. I mean, how many Doctor Strange comics have you read? I mean, for me, I can say a handful. I'm reading the current volume right now of Marvel. I mean, I'm not a Doctor Strange expert by any means.
Yeah, right.
I will, I've definitely done my share of research and everything, but I want to see the Doctor Strange, or like that is an origin film that I'm down with. Gambit coming out this year.
What? Gambit?
How is that not going to be an origin story?
Gambit comes out this year?
Well, apparently, yeah, that's on the slate. November,
And-
Channing Tatum.
yeah.
I don't even know if they started filming it yet. And I'm thinking if they haven't started filming, it's not going to come out this year. I got a list off of the internet a little while ago, and so I just made a list of the order of films that are slated to come out.
Is the world asking for the Gambit story?
I sure as shit am not asking for that movie. Oh my God. Who gives a shit?
Gambit is like, for a lot of people that are like a generation behind me, I think Gambit was like their Wolverine. I don't know. Like, I know that there are a lot of people that are fans of the
But not
Gambit
even
character.
that, dude, because, okay, think about it. When Gambit first showed up...
so sexy.
When he first showed up in the late 80s, all right? The story he shows up in is completely fucked to begin with, because this is about the time that Chris Claremont just said, screw it, and was just writing to adhere to the artists, basically.
Yeah.
And he decided, after the X-Men passed through the Siege Perilous at the end of the Fall of the Mutants and faked their deaths and everything, that Storm would come back reincarnated as a little girl. And so she's running around New Orleans as like this 12-year-old girl, and she runs into Gambit, and he's like, "Hey, let's hang out." So he's like running around with this little girl, thieving. It's just really weird to begin with.
Right.
But the whole thing that gets everyone with Gambit is the whole Gambit and Rogue thing. They could have chose anybody to be with Rogue, but they picked Gambit, and so for some reason, that will they won't they worked for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think the cartoon had a lot to do with it. The Fox cartoon.
Right. I always liked the character of Rogue.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
But both of those characters really got amped up, I think, from that cartoon.
Certainly.
But Gambit for me has always really done nothing for me. I mean, he can charge up, objects and throw them at you and they'll explode.
Right.
That's cool, but as far as just the backstory and everything, and they tried to make him be responsible for the death of all the mutants in the future. They had the trial of Gambit 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that, even that stuff right there, that was I think that all the hardcore Gambit fans came after the Wolverine Punisher fans.
Yeah.
Because I think it was Wolverine and then Punisher, and it was like Wolverine and Punisher are like the hardcore, cool comic characters right now. And then Gambit came along, and then Gambit, kind of did that. And then Deadpool came along and kind of took over there. But all in all, I just, I think the coolest cat in the Marvel Universe at the end of the day is Peter Parker.
How, Spider-Man?
At the end of the day.
Hell yeah.
Peter Parker is the coolest. No one beats Peter. He's the best character in Marvel. And I'm an X-Man fan, and I love Cyclops, and I'll defend Cyclops' honor to the end of the day.
Right.
But Spider-Man is the coolest. And Spider-Man, I've always wanted to be an X-Man. Because he's that one non-mutant character that I've always felt like he could be a mutant. He feels like a mutant. He deals with mutant shit.
Right.
But yeah, but also that also has to do with the fact that my first comic that I ever bought as a kid was issue of Marvel Tales that McFarlane did the cover of, that was retelling of an old Marvel Tales team up between the X-Men and Spider-Man.
Okay.
So,
and also too, to even add to the level of awesomeness that is Peter Parker Spider-Man, in the old Secret Wars series from the 80s or whatever, there's a sequence where Spider-Man spies on the X-Men.
Right.
And they discover him, and they try to take him out, and he makes them all look stupid.
Yeah.
And you're just like, fuck yeah, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So.
But as I recall, it's not really necessarily on a I'm stronger with you level. It's a I'm smarter than you dumb kids level. Because
he makes them look silly.
Right, because back then, another thing about the X-Men is they're kids. They look like they're in their 30s, but they're only in their late teens, early 20s.
They're supposed to be. Yeah,
exactly. That's why reading old X-Men stories is kind of hard.
They never wrote them as teenagers.
Yeah, right.
They wrote them as students.
Yes.
But they never really wrote them as teenagers. And Peter Parker, and what Stan Lee did with him in those early days of giving him the teen angst and the teen issues, and what was so landmark about giving a hero real people problems and all that, and no one had really done that before, is, yeah, Pete, I see why you say, he's got X-Men type problems. I never, reading an X-Men comic, I never really felt like I was dealing with teenagers.
No, I didn't really either, except for the whole, all the stuff between, Scott and Jean, in the early days and everything. Right. Outside of that, because it did really feel, they made that really teeny or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. But going back to Spider-Man, how much Spider-Man are we going to get in Civil War that comes out here in a couple months?
Not enough, I'm sure.
I mean, they haven't shown anything. So
all I've seen is War Machine, Iron Man, and Captain America.
Black Panther.
A Black Panther.
They started to show his ass a little bit more.
I'm pretty intrigued by that.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty intrigued by that.
He's going to get his own movie, so he's got to probably play a larger role than we think he is.
Yeah.
I just hope we get more T'Challa.
Yeah.
Than Black Panther. However, one issue that I have is there's a specific sequence in the film or in the trailers that they're showing where both Team Cap and Team Iron Man are running at each other.
Yeah.
It looks like they're in the parking lot of a Walmart.
It does, totally.
What is going on here? This movie looks like it was shot in North Carolina.
It looks like it was shot on a budget.
Yeah.
It does. Are we at this point where we're now going to maximize profit and minimize, the budget? Because we already got them on the hook.
Right.
These people are going to go see this movie no matter what.
Right.
Right? Cut Taskmaster, cut the chase scene, cut an extra X-Men. We're going to get an Avengers movie with 2 Avengers in it. That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Right? So, and no sign of Spider-Man. really to
Not
be
yet.
seen.
Yeah, no.
But it is nice to know that the Hulk and Ant-Man are selling Coca-Cola.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they just announced too that the Hulk is going to be in the film. That was one thing that a lot of people were wondering, and if he was doing a commercial with Ant-Man, I'm guessing that
They're trying to remind people.
Right, yeah, exactly, or
That
something.
sort of thing.
All right, so
Okay,
are you
moving on.
intrigued? Are you intrigued by Civil War? Are you? I mean, definitely we're going to go see it, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have high expectations for the film.
I
didn't like Avengers 2 at all. At all.
I Age of Ultron was at the end of the day very forgettable, and when I sit down and watch a movie, one of two things typically happens: either I think about it for days afterwards, or I almost instantly forget
Right.
the movie, and you have to remind me of things that happened in the movie.
Right.
I watched Age of Ultron, and the next day, if you called me and asked me
What happened?
what happens in the movie, I pretty much couldn't have even told you.
Dude, when that island just came out of the ground and started flying, that country or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
that was when I was like, man, screw this. This is I can't.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on? What are you
Right.
doing? So we got low expectations for Civil War. Hopefully it will please us, and hopefully Spider-Man will kick a lot of ass.
And not to mention, like you said, there's no world where Winter Soldier and Captain America are pummeling Iron Man down into the ground.
Oh my god!
Iron Man
Unless
on
there's
his
a
knees.
magnet,
Yeah.
a super magnet
Yeah.
below him. Yeah, come on.
Stop
Yeah,
it.
that's ridiculous. that scene is just
First
so,
of all,
so
I'm going to
stupid.
go about a half mile up, and then I'm going to come down full speed, and I'm just going to wreck
or
you.
faster than both of you. I'm just going to push you off of
Yes,
me.
the repulsor rays,
Right,
the
whatever.
chest thing, something, anything.
Yeah.
So,
All
I
right,
don't know.
So continuing with Marvel, we have X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
X-Men 2 was to me kind of the high water.
Yeah,
moment.
X-Men 2 was the high water, but First Class is a damn good movie.
It is. First Class is a good movie, and it was
Matthew Vaughn.
and it's also really cool to go back to that original
Right.
X-Men team.
Right. And, and I think that Days of Future Past really failed because they didn't focus on the characters that kind of stole the show in the film. Quicksilver in that movie was awesome.
Yeah.
And he's in it for maybe 15 total minutes.
Right.
And they could have done a lot and made people care and gave a shit a bit more about him in doing that. But all in all, I thought Days of Future Past was just a mess.
It was.
And this film, X-Men Apocalypse, I mean, as an X-Men fan and knowing so much about X-Men, oh God, it just looks terrible.
I'm pretty apathetic. I have to say, I'm pretty.
It looks like
apathetic about
X3. It looks like the third X-Men movie.
Look, in X-Men 2, when Nightcrawler is bamfing his way through the White House
In the beginning,
to me,
God.
that was exquisite.
Yeah. The end of the film when they're all in the White House and the
Yeah.
president looks and sees Nightcrawler in the back and he
Yeah.
nods his head at him. Love that
Right?
shit.
That's what I want, and
Yeah.
I just don't feel like I'm gonna get it.
Oh, dude, when they're going over the water and you start to see the flames underneath the water at the end of that movie, I was like, this is the best comic book film that has come out yet. This is the best one.
Right?
And I want to say that preceded Spider-Man 2.
I'm pretty sure that you're correct.
Because Spider-Man 2 is still, in my opinion,
Oh, Spider-Man 2 is probably
amazing.
probably the perfect superhero movie.
So
it really
good.
is.
Top to bottom.
It's got the feels. It
Alfred Molina is awesome.
yes.
Awesome. I mean, you're like, oh my God, Peter Parker and Doc Ock are friends. And I believe this.
Right.
He wants to help him.
Right.
With Norman Osborn, no. From the jump, I knew he was just a piece of shit.
Right.
But you kind of they kind of made you feel for Alfred Molina. Whereas in the next film, you could give two shits about Sandman. He shouldn't even been in the movie.
Oh no.
But that's a whole other. That's a whole other deal. Well, switching over to the DC side of things, we already talked briefly about Batman and Superman. A new a new teaser just came out, I guess like a week ago or so, and it looked incredible with Batman opening up, busting through like the floor and beating up everybody. Have you seen that?
And Alfred is like calling out shots. Like
Right.
there's like 5 targets on the
Yeah.
3rd floor. I'm dropping you off on the 2nd floor
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Right,
And
right.
like he's getting all the intel.
Like it's totally freaking Batman.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that is Batman.
Right.
And the whole trailer, like they're showing more of the like, Superman, Batman shit, and that's fine. But at the end of it, I was like, holy shit, now that was good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but there's also Doomsday in the film. And oh yeah, Lex Luthor is probably going to put the mech suit on and fight everyone. So there's that. Why can't this just be about Batman and Superman?
Right, yeah.
I mean, that's what we're gonna walk away from.
What do you
saying.
think about Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor?
I'm not gonna. As far as like, I have low expectations for the film, but if I do have any sort of high expectation, it is that Jesse Eisenberg really surprises us.
Yeah?
And we want to smack him in the face. Not like, get off the screen, you suck, but like, I hate you for being Lex Luthor.
Okay.
So yeah, so
I'm going to hold on to your hopefulness there because it's such an curious casting choice.
Right?
It goes very much against what you would expect them to cast.
Instead of going older guy, you'd think they're going younger. Okay, so what about, and then we talked about Suicide Squad. Should be R-rated. It's not. I think that's going to have something to do with the fact that it's not going to be as successful. And honestly, I don't think this film is going to do as good as Deadpool did opening weekend.
No.
I don't think it's 150. I don't think it's a 90 million.
Well, Ryan Reynolds is a awfully entertaining guy.
Yes.
And he's fun to watch. And he is a solid actor. And now we have an ensemble piece.
If this were 10 years ago and Will Smith was Deadshot, this would have a little more cachet.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that a lot more people would give a shit about it if this was in his prime Will Smith, so to speak.
It's just such a curious choice.
It just looks weird.
Just to even make this film.
Yeah, it looks like a bunch of fluorescent paint.
Of all the stuff that
screen.
DC has, why did they do this, of all things, you know?
I don't know.
And the versions of the characters as they're presented are so alternative.
The only character that I'm like, that's a cool looking version is Captain Boomerang.
Oh yeah,
he looks cool. He kind of
for
looks,
once.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he fits. He doesn't have a big boomerang on his head or anything like that. So yeah, that works. But I mean, I think we've discussed already on the podcast about the scene where she breaks the window and steals the necklace.
Right. We're bad people.
The cop's like, "What the hell is wrong with you people?" She's like, "We're bad guys." Like, come on,
Mr.
man.
J.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll get a Mr. J.
Well, Jared Leto is a guy who actually has depth as an actor. If you've ever seen Requiem for a Dream, which is a film that just shakes you down to your soul, it's he's I'm curious to see what his Joker the performance is like. The look is very modern, I guess you could say.
We haven't really heard the laugh yet. I want to hear
the laugh.
I want to hear a good cackle. But and how he's speaking with the things in his teeth.
The grill.
He's already like talking like this.
Right.
He's kind of got a little bit of that going on. So I don't know. We'll see. My Joker is a Mark Hamill, kind of an effeminate sounding Joker.
Right.
And Jared Leto doesn't sound anything like that. So. Who knows? Again,
and Mom, if you're listening, I still know that you had a crush on Jared Leto when he was on My So-Called Life. So I know, I don't forget these things. She did. She had a picture of Jared Leto in her bathroom.
Oh wow!
Yeah. She had a little thing, little crush on Jared.
Well, on that note,
Mom,
I think that this is going to do an end for our special 2016 Super Movie edition of Matty Loves Podcast.
Over the course of the spring and early summer, you will hear both our joy and tears over these films as they actually hit the screen.
Yes, hopefully more joyous than tearous.
Yeah, seriously.
So, for Dr. Tom, I'm Matt DeSimone, and we will see you next time on Matty Loves Podcast.
Matty Loves Podcast. Matty Loves Podcast.